Well, the first two things that come to mind from the Oregon State game are one, the way the game kind of played out. It was an ugly win, but the W feels the same afterwards, and our kids grinded it out and they worked hard. And so, the first thing that comes to mind is it's been a very adversity driven season, and it was an adversity driven game. So I thought we have been talking as a program here, as a team, about getting to a point where we're kind of at the fork in the road. It's kind of put up or shut up time in the second half, whether that be late third quarter, early fourth quarter. We've had a lot of those moments where we just needed to, we needed to take it up a notch and make some plays and close the show and win the ball game. And this past weekend we were able to do that against Oregon State. And the second thing was I thought we were unhappy with our performance in the fourth quarter a week ago. We've had a lot of competitive quarters. We played really hard. These kids have been resilient, and they've been physical, and they have been locked in and focused, and they have dealt with isolating themselves and blocking out the outside noise and taking care of business week in and week out. And I thought that we had a little bit of a drop off 2 weeks ago, and so it was nice to see. I always say we get what we emphasize from these guys, and it was good to see them respond and go attack it in the fourth quarter. And I think we all know the special teams and the defense stepped up, and that's what got us the win.
We're gonna give the first question today to Colin Neal.
Hey, coach. Just congratulations, first of all, on your first win as a head coach in over 7,300 days. Just kind of from your perspective, what was that whole thing like? Just as soon as the clock went down to zeros.
It was good. It's just I was happy for the players. I tell them all the time, I'm going to be doing this for a long time. I get other opportunities, but these guys, their days are numbered as players. So you want to see them enjoy every experience, and they have played hard, really hard, and a lot of them have laid it on the line and given us every effort that they've had, every ounce of effort that they have, and it hasn't played out the way we wanted it to. And so I think Saturday night was one of those nights where it's just what I said. They kind of upped their game and they went and made some plays. They didn't wait for somebody else to make one. They went and made one, and it resulted in a good team win. And so I'm proud of how hard they've worked. It paid off on Saturday, and now we're locked into Delaware.
Colton Foster.
Yeah, this team, 0-8. What did it just kind of, what was the plane trip back? And, how important was it to get a win here to avoid that 0-9 start before, the final three games?
Truthfully, I don't care what the record is. I think it's always important to get the next win. So, this wasn't any different as much as, um, people want to make it a story. We prepare every week and we grind every week. And what was good about this win is that the players were rewarded, for a great week of practice. And it wasn't even, I didn't think overall a great performance. Our offense certainly wasn't very good Saturday. Could have done some things to help us secure the game a little bit earlier, and we weren't able to do that. And the defense stepped up. Um, after a not so great game the week before. And I just was glad to see them respond. And, you guys have heard me say this in press conferences early on. Our special teams have been solid. We have not done anything to go win a game. We haven't been a difference maker. We haven't hurt ourselves for the most part. We've had a couple plays, but overall, I give our special teams a fairly decent grade. And we were able to make some plays between Brody and Tim Burns, and the guys around them to help both of them get that done. Those two plays really turned the tide Saturday.
Ben Sorrells.
Yeah, at the end of the Oregon State game, I think it was 3rd and 18 with about a minute and a half left, and there was the Landon Lock interception. It looked like it might have been an RPO. I just wondered what the play call was there, and should Landon have handed it off? Just kind of what your thought process was on that play towards the end.
Well, and Landon to tell you the same thing. That's probably the worst play I've seen him execute since he's been here. And I think he'd tell you the same thing. It was a screen. We were just throwing what was supposed to be a short, quick, high percentage screen, so we didn't endanger the football. At 3rd and 18, you're still trying to generate something where maybe we can create a little space and turn that thing into a kick return, and two things: either one, go get the first down, but if you knock out 12 yards there, you give yourself a little bit more room to punt them inside the 20. And then they tell you in our quarterback room, you got to be an athlete on screenplays. That's understanding number one. And then the other coaching point is we don't ever lift a screen throw over a defender. There's got to be a free eye line to the receiver. And we made that mistake. We lifted it up over a defender. It sailed over our slot receiver's head, and they got the pick. And it gave our defense an opportunity to come out for the 3rd drive, in that type of scenario and get the stop that we needed for the win.
Mr. Lane Fobbs, who welcome back from the great state of Oregon. We're glad to have you this last weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. First off, congratulations, well, coach. Just after such a win like that, do you give yourself and the staff and players a little bit extra time to celebrate it, or how do you approach the week after that?
Well, it's not a short week by game schedule. It's Saturday to Saturday to Saturday to Saturday for the month of November, but we didn't land from back from Oregon State until about 8:30, 9 a.m. in the morning, and so I gave the players off, and that was to recoup. So we lifted and did some of our meeting stuff on Monday. The coaches got after game planning Sunday and Monday like we always do, but we just weighed out what was going to be most beneficial for our players, and I thought that was something they deserved. Wasn't necessarily so they could celebrate the win as much as they could get some sleep, so that we could get situated and get our bodies back for Delaware. So that was our schedule this weekend. I think football is it's a business of you win or you lose. You've got that evening to enjoy it, and then you get your butt back in the office the next morning, and you've got to put the blinders back on. The next game is always more important when you win the last one, and so the sooner we can get focused on the next one, the better.
Carlos.
Well, Coach, let's talk about the next one. Delaware coming to Houston to face y'all on Saturday. It's the return of Ryan Carty facing his old program. And they're playing at a really high level, come from behind win against Louisiana Tech last week. Just what have you seen from the Fighting Blue Hens that you'll match up with on Saturday?
Well, I mean, obviously, we have a lot of respect for Delaware. We've got a bunch of common opponents. They did a great job against La Tech, and we played, and we know what that team is about. And so we also know, Coach Carty's involved in the offense, and they're doing a good job on that side of the ball. Defensively, they are an absolute headache schematically. We've seen a few multiple teams this year, none more than this defense. And we'll see man, we're going to see zone, we'll see 2 high, we'll see 1 high, we'll see 3 safeties, we'll see drop 8, we'll see pressure, you name it, we're going to see it. And so this is a game, and I just got done saying it to our players after practice this morning, where we need to be ultra prepared, both offensively and defensively, because they're multiple on both sides. And they're going to make us think, and they're going to make us try to make mistakes so they can take advantage of them. And so this is a game about, at the end of the day, it's going to be the skills and fundamentals, but this is a game where the preparation during the week is going to play a pivotal role, in who's more efficient on Saturday. And then, it's an interesting game because I have some good friends on that staff. Terrence Archer was my receivers coach here at Sam Houston. When I was here the first time, I brought him with me, and we had a lot of great moments here on this field. Obviously, Ryan has been here. He was here after I was. And then the O-line coach there is also somebody I know very well. He's an offensive GA for us. So and I know a lot about Delaware because I'm back from out east. So that's close to where I grew up, and I'm very well aware of that program. So we are looking forward to Delaware. It's game 10 for us. And the most important thing about this game is we need the next win.
Go back over to Colton.
Yeah, I believe it was 9 straight drives that the defense held Oregon State without points there. Just now that you've had some time to reflect on it, what did you see out of those, and how can you kind of carry that into the rest of the season?
Well, the two improvements defensively, uh, because I've been harping on open field tackling for a few weeks now, and that improved drastically in this game, and it also helped us get off the field on third down. Slash fourth down, depending on what was going to close the drive. But those were the two. I thought the open field tackle and the improvement really helped. The return of C.J. Brown. He hasn't been on that field for a while. It was an obvious difference with him out there making plays in the open field and closing on some things. And obviously getting the 3D linemen back was a huge upgrade. And that's not a shot at anybody that played the week before. It's just we didn't have the depth. You weren't able to roll through, the defensive line like we normally do, and we were able to get back to that. And I thought Dylan Frazier stepped up, being the leader that he has been this year, and made some plays. So between the return of our D lineman, the return of C.J. Brown, the increase, the upgrade in our open field tackling, it just made us more efficient on third down, and we were able to get off the field. And I thought offensively we stressed our defense too much. And that's something that's obviously going to need to change this week if we want a chance at Delaware.
Get another question from Ben Sorrells.
Yeah, coach, just wanted to see what the quarterback room looked like heading into this week. And I know Landon Locke has played 3 games. He's a true freshman. Do you take that into consideration when looking at if he's going to play maybe this week or moving forward this season?
So right now we have Mabry Hunter's out. Mabry, Landon, and DJ are all repping right now. Mabry and Landon getting the majority of those reps, and so they'll both be prepared, and we'll make a decision as we get to game time as to who will start, and you may wind up seeing them both again. We'll see how the game goes.
Colin.
Going back towards the Delaware, looks like they have a good quarterback leading them at the helm of Mick Minakuchi. Just kind of what have you seen out of him specifically?
He's fun to watch. I mean, he's talented, and they do some things on offense and that you can't do with every quarterback. So it just tells me, and I certainly haven't talked to Coach Carty, but it just tells me he must have some confidence in his quarterback because they're doing some things schematically that you've got to have a good, intelligent quarterback to do some of those things, and you've also got to be able to make some of those throws. And he's having a great season. I respect him. I think he is a really good at his position. He's the number one guy we're going to have to stop on defense, and he's got a good surrounding cast around him. So they are. I think they're feeling it on offense right now. So we have our hands full on defense. It'll be another very drastic change from one week to the next because they are nothing like what we just saw in Oregon State. So we have our hands full on that end, and then they're just as multiple defensively as mentioned. So it's going to be as much of an intellectual challenge, as much of a focused and preparation challenge for us this Saturday.
Back over to Colton.
Yeah, Eric Reisbeck, I believe is how you say it. I want to say he was one of your first hires and, the special team coordinator. Just what have you seen from him, especially after a game that saw, the blocked punt and then a kickoff return?
Well, I mean, he's really done a good job all year. He was an early hire. We worked together at Wisconsin. He's been involved and run special teams at a number of Big Ten schools, including Penn State. And I think it's important if you want to prioritize special teams, you've got to have a coordinator do it. I didn't want to have an off the field coach do that. I wanted a guy that we wanted 3 coordinators, and so he came in. He handles our slot receivers on offense, but he is in charge of special teams all the way through. And then our position coaches have done a great job of supporting that aspect of our team, and so it has been the most consistent aspect out of the 3, on our team this year. And we have been close to making some plays that could be some game changers that could turn the tide. this was the first game where we were able to knock down a few. And so Brody Henderson and Tim Burns were the recipients of the two biggest plays that we made on special teams. But it was a good concerted team effort in that aspect. And so Eric's done a good job, and I've been happy with the progress in that area.
Back over to Colin.
You know, in the locker room, you know, from the video, it's at the end. I believe it was Caleb Holloway that was, you know, doing the. I mean, I can't really recite the chant because otherwise it'd be not safe for work. But what does it mean to kind of keep a certain thing like that going in this program, especially since that's rooted back to like the national championship days?
So that stuff goes all the way back to 2014 when I first got here, and I think I think it existed with Willie Fritz, and I don't know this, but it wouldn't surprise me if it ran itself all the way back into the Ron Randleman days. You know, when you have a program that has won consistently over such a long time, like Sam Houston has, there are things that develop. There are routines, there are traditions, there are expectations. There's a culture that develops, and because there are returning players, a lot of those positive traditions, that positive culture, that expectation to win remains. And so as you move through different coaches, those things still exist. I still remember when I first got to Ole Miss, there was no standard that I or any other coach on the offensive staff needed to set in the wide receiver room. It had been set for the last 10, 15 years in that room. And when A.J. Brown and D.K. Metcalf and DeMarcus Lodge and Elijah Green and all those, Elijah Moore, all those guys came into that room, they were held to a standard there that kind of existed and lasted through 3 or 4 different coaches. And it was really amazing to see that room produce the way it did, both in practice and in the game. But it was a standard and a culture that existed there that was stronger than what coach was there. And that is the same thing that exists here. You know, there are some things that go on in this building, in this locker room, far more than just that chant that you heard, that exist here, and they're here for good reasons. And so you want to embrace them, and you want that to become part of this era. And I certainly plan on hearing that chant far more often in the future.
Other questions for Coach? See, we got Colton and got another one.
Yeah, I know earlier you said, you know, you just kind of expect to win every week and that's the goal. But I mean, was there a weight lifted off your shoulder getting this first one and being able to, you know, finally just get past that hump and lock down that first win?
Yeah. I know you want me to say yes, but I just truthfully, I'm not a big stress guy. What I am is really happy for the players. So I'm happy for them. I think it was good to get that off their back, right? Um, when I say I believe in the process and the staff believes in the process, and we've got the players, you know, moving in the right direction, I believe it, and I know that to be the case. And to me, this is a build. Like this, there's a vision here. There's something we want to build. We want to create, and I know that we want that from the president right through the AD, right on down to our program. I believe that wholeheartedly. I know that to be the case, and I am focused on that big picture. And then when I have to get involved in the day-to-day operations, obviously I do, and that's what our staff has done. But I am very happy to get that off the backs of our players. And so right now, you know, I said this last week. Very good coach in the past said they remember what you do in November, and so we've started November off the right way, and we're going to see if we can't continue that this Saturday.